Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. So you saw everything this week, I think is what they tell me, that you went to movies and you saw them all.
I saw them all.
You loved Walter Mitty?
I did. I'm
really glad to hear that.
I know. I think, I don't know. Maybe I was in a mood for movies, or I don't know. But I loved Walter Mitty. I loved Saving Mr. Banks. I loved Philomena. I liked American Hustle. And then I liked Inside Llewyn Davis, and I I guess I'd say that I really liked Dallas Buyers Club.
You really did. You saw them all. You saw them all.
I did.
It's only been like 3 days since I last talked to you.
It's been a busy 3 days.
Jeez, man. I love it.
I know. What are you going to do? It's catch-up time. It's like there's, I've got to feel like I'm somewhat on the ball.
You do. You should.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do what you did, and I should have used that catch-up time, but I didn't. We had a lot of family in town, and none of them. See, here's my problem. I don't have anybody in my immediate family who is as much of a goon for films like you are, and me, right?
Yeah, right.
And so when there are conflicting demands, everyone in my family, you know what they want to do? Probably hike. Like go spend time outside.
I was going to say play pinochle, but I guess that wasn't it.
No, but there's a great game called Anomia that causes you to like take people you love and just scream at them. You should go look up that game. It's just horrible. It's a Mensa game. It makes you real mad, and it's just horrible sounds come out of your mouth.
It sounds like the opposite of that one where you lie on each other's bellies and everyone starts laughing just to make each other laugh. There's the laughing game, and then there's the screaming game. Oddly, Mensa chooses the screaming game.
Yeah. Brilliant. But you get my point. When you don't have anybody who is really supporting you, and you're part of the you're part of the tribe, you got to do your part. And my part was to not do any of the movies that I desperately wanted to catch up on. So I'm way behind. Nobody in my family was. That's just why I think I've said this before. This is why I bred. But my children are not old enough yet to be my official movie buddies at the older movies. And so I'm just waiting for that day.
Pining.
NC-17. I kid. That's a joke.
Oh my goodness.
That's a joke.
Soon enough.
In the realm of the senses.
Oh, whoop. No, thank you.
This is what I thought of another series that we need to do down the road. Wildly uncomfortable movies that are just too much sex. People, thank you for joining us. This is a happy, deepest of happy New Year's to you. We hope that you had fantastic festivities. This is The Next Reel, and I'm Pete Wright, and that over there is Andy Nelson, and we spoil movies. And you can find out more about the movies we have spoilt at thenextreel.com. You can read the blog stylings of Steve Sarmento at nextreel.com/blog. You can catch up with all of our films that we have ever rated or are going to see at flickchart.com/thenextreel or letterboxd.com/thenextreel. And, of course, join the conversation at facebook.com/thenextreel or Google plus the Next Reel podcast. It's the best way to find us over there. All 6 people who are following us on Google Plus. 6. I'm telling you, one day this thing's going to take off.
Google Plus.
Andy, can you fill us in on how did the last week go with the Instagram Guess the Movie #Pony Prize Challenge?
I'm going to have to really start doing something to make these more challenging again because
you screwed it up again.
I tell you, I picked a nice picture of a house in the country in the autumn, and first picture, Cameron L. Ryan nailed it right out of the gate, and I was like, man, what am I doing? How did she figure out that was the firm? I have no idea.
That's so good.
I guess if anyone pieces together, like listens to the show and pieces together, well, let's see. He's doing this crazy Tom Cruise movie fest. Maybe it's Tom Cruise movie. See, I need to start picking things I'm not actually watching.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, give too much.
I do. But it was still a good week. So congratulations, Cameron. You are entered to win our pony prize. It is not going to be a blue whale.
No,
we haven't quite worked that
Nor is it
out.
going to be, if you were really looking forward to any Tom Cruise paraphernalia, we've just taken all of that out. It was heavy up on Tom Cruise, but because you didn't give Andy any satisfaction. Guess on the first movie.
I know. You had to wait. You had to just go right out of the first picture. So
Andy's bitter now, and so he took all the Tom Cruise stuff out.
That's right.
The boxers he wore in Risky Business, gone.
Mm-hmm.
The crane he operated in War of the Worlds, gone. It was it. It was like 17-story construction crane, gone.
That's right.
Shipping crane. Right.
But there will be other fantastic prizes in there.
No. We should talk about trailers.
Let's.
I want to talk about Transcendence. Have you seen the trailer? The first official trailer came out. It came out a little bit ago. It came out 1,570,391 YouTube views ago. So,
that was a while ago.
It came out December 20th. And this is not the teaser, mind you. So if you've seen the teaser, the Johnny Depp waxes philosophical teaser, you should go see the trailer. I like this movie. It's the movie. It's the movie the Lawnmower Man should have been. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was not a great film.
It was not a great film. It was not a great film. I love this human machine breeding. Anytime I see that, I get excited about it because I'm already in line for my first implants. I want implants. I want Johnny Mnemonic style new memory. There's a lot of my brain that I would gladly give. A lot of my brain people already think I gave up, so that I should just fill in those spaces with chips. I think the movie looks. It looks interesting and exciting to me. And Johnny Depp, Kate Mara. We like the Kate Mara. She's on the Netflix.
Yeah, House of Cards.
House of Cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen the trailer for House of Cards for season 2?
No, I haven't.
It was playing in The Hobbit. When I saw The Hobbit, it was in the theater. It was fantastic.
It was in the pre-trailers.
No, this was a trailer.
Interesting.
No, I may be lying about that. I can't remember.
You probably are.
It's all like an hour of everything now.
Right,
anyway,
right.
This is director Wally Pfister.
Good old Wally. His directorial debut. I hate to say it, but this is the one thing that makes me nervous about Transcendence. Anytime a DP steps out of the DP role and becomes a director, it's often not a very good movie. It looks great, but it's often not a very good movie.
Yeah.
Now, that trend certainly can be bucked. There are directors who have done that before, and I'm hoping that good old Wally Pfister will join that club. He can join the Barry Sonnenfeld club. I mean, Barry Sonnenfeld directed quite a number of good movies. Yeah, I can't name anyone else.
That's it. The list is short. Well, we've talked about old Wally a number of times. He's done all the Christopher Nolan stuff. Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises, and those Dark Knight Rises. I think we did our film board on it. I think people were generally not as pleased with the film, but the you have to admit it was good looking.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of Wally.
It wasn't.
He did Marley, made people cry about dogs again, and Italian Job.
Yeah, I mean he knows how to shoot a good movie.
He sure does.
I'm hoping this will be good. I mean, it does have a great cast aside from Johnny Depp and Kate Mara. Rebecca Hall's in it, Morgan Freeman, Cillian Murphy, Paul Bettany, Cole Hauser, Clifton Collins Jr. I mean, it's a big cast, lots of people.
Right.
And I think it looks like a really cool story. Like you said, it does have that Lawnmower Man sort of vibe. So I think it could end up being really cool. I'm crossing my fingers it is, but I'm not getting my hopes up on this one.
Comes out April 18th, 2014. Buy your tickets now. What's yours?
My trailer actually came out. It's a movie that came out in England last year, but it's only coming out in the States here February 7th. And it just looks like a wacky fun time. It's a new Simon Pegg movie called A Fantastic Fear of Everything. Simon Pegg, he's in the Cornetto trilogy. I can't get enough of the guy. He cracks me up. And this looks really funny. He's an author of children's books who looks like he never really wanted to get into writing children's books. He really wants to write crime stories. And he turns into like this complete paranoid wreck and afraid to do anything. And I don't know if he's like got visions of his little hedgehog character from his children's books or whatever, but it looks like he goes down this really wacky, crazy trail. And the film looks pretty interesting. I mean, it gets into some weird little sequences where he and his shrink are walking through little animated lands and stuff. And I don't know, it looks like it's going to be a wild, fun time. I'm hoping it's good, but it looks really fun. So that's mine, A Fantastic Fear of Everything.
I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks like, I think you're right. It's a great deal of fun. It looks really, there are parts of it that are surprisingly dark looking. Like it looks much more sort of grim than you would expect, I think, from, even something as sort of pleasant as, Shaun of the Dead. There's some gruesome stuff in there, and it still was fairly lighthearted. And this actually looks, it's got some interesting dark visuals in it. I'm very excited about it.
Well, some of the animation, I mean, the hedgehog stuff. I mean, it has a real Wes Anderson sort of.
It does. I was thinking,
doesn't it? Like
that.
It's
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Exactly.
Yeah, it totally is that stop motion animation, kind of these creepy children's book characters that are a little off putting.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Maybe that's another thing that draws me to it. Is it does have that dark edge. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so that's mine. It opens February 7th, limited, and I believe it's going to be streaming pretty soon too. So definitely watch for that one.
All right, let's do it. Let's do this film.
Let's do it. Our New Year entry for 2014.
For the kids.
Once upon a time, the American dream was power, wealth, and success. But in the city that never sleeps, the American dream is about to get a wake-up call.
Just got hired today, entry level. But I got big ideas.
When the president and owner of 87% of the company's stock drops, then the company too has a problem. What we need now is a new president. Some jerk.
My leg is on fire.
We can really push around.
You, boss! This letter was sent down this morning by the big man himself.
Sit down, son. Go ahead. Try it on.
Did the Fortune City an idea man when they promoted you from the mailroom?
Well, I guess so. I don't think they promoted me because they thought I was a schmo.
The guy's a real moron.
Cigarettes?
No, thank you.
What an imbecile. Come up with this.
From Joel and Ethan Coen.
It's fun, it's healthy, the kids will just love it, and we put a little sand inside to make the experience more pleasant.
Did you have any idea there'd be such a huge response?
This is the president.
I don't think anybody expected this much hoopla.
I'm getting off this merry-go-round.
Plexiglass.
The Hudsucker Proxy.
Joel Coen, Ethan Coen, written by the brothers Coen and one honorable Mr. Sam Raimi.
Ah, yes.
It doesn't feel like a Sam Raimi.
Well, you don't think so? It doesn't. It has a sense of wackiness to it. Like that's the thing with him that works sometimes in his films and sometimes doesn't. Is kind of his that a little bit of that zany sensibility.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I'm on the record. I love this movie.
Do you?
I love it so much.
I think this was your New Year pick. I saw this once in the movie theater when it came out. Never again. I didn't even remember that anything about New Year's was associated with this film.
Right? But it turns out that's a fairly significant plot device.
It is.
It's the whole thing. It's the ticking clock.
Yeah.
Do you hear me, bub?
Oh, I hear you.
Okay, since this was my pick, tell me how it hit you the second time around.
I like it. It's an easy film to enjoy. Like it's the fun, the kind of the zany screwballness of it, everything kind of washes over me and I enjoy it. But at the same time, I find it an easy film to forget. Like it doesn't, I don't know, it's weird. It seems like a lot of the Coen brother comedy clicks with me. And for some reason, this one just doesn't seem to. I don't know if I just don't get as invested in the characters or what. But I mean, by the time the climax rolls around, I'm just kind of I'm not as invested in the moments happening in the film as I am just kind of waiting for all the pieces to fall into place so I can see the end of the film. Still enjoying it, but I'm just not that invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It is fun. I just I don't know. I don't think this is a Coen film that I will come back to that often.
I think that's too bad. And I'm okay. So I love this film. But I love it. It's one of those films that I love as the sum of its parts, right? And I think that's what what I'm sort of reading into your experience with it, which is, it's an easy film to like while you're watching it.
Yeah.
And if you just let it wash over you, it's good. It's a good film, and it leaves you feeling sort of warm, and then you're hungry again. But the piece for me, what I like so much about it, I love the fairy tale architecture of it. I love the way it brings us into this world of corporate greed. And I think it's an interesting angle to take on, in an interesting time to take on corporations, right? And to put this kind of young buck in the mailroom and watch him on this, mad race to the corner office. And then as a setup, I think it's a fantastic story that deals with a fairly complex issue in a very simple way. That it deals with corporate greed at the highest levels in a way that is approachable and puts kind of a fun bow on it. And I like that. I like the way that works. What I don't like, I find myself getting annoyed with most of the individual performances at some time or another.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think the only one that so the film stars Tim Robbins as Norval Barnes. He is the young buck who gets thrust into the mailroom with hints of Brazil, with not so much steampunk, and he is playing opposite Jennifer Jason Leigh as Amy Archer, the
straight
Pulitzer,
out of a 30s screwball comedy.
Exactly, and she's the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Who is undercover working for Norval Barnes, and Paul Newman as Sidney J. Musburger. He's the vice president of the company, and he's the
foil.
The foil. Other great and brief performances. I think Charles Durning is wearing Hudsucker. He may have 15 lines in the film, but they're all fantastic.
And I think he's actually one of my favorites in the movie. Yeah. I don't know why. Just his part, it's just such a simple part, but I think he just does it so well.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the fact that when we finally discover, and we'll probably talk about this, when we finally discover at the end of the film, why he jumps out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but my first response is, why didn't we see a movie about that? Even though I love this movie, I think that he would have been that would have been an interesting film too. We have let's see, some other characters.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell is obviously in this. He's one of the other reporters.
Yeah. And John Mahoney is the editor of the newspaper.
Absolutely, John Mahoney. He's good too. We have John Goodman, who's in this briefly as the newsreel announcer. We hear a lot of him, and Steve Buscemi, standard Coen cast as the beatnik bartender.
Right, and then you got John Polito sticking in as just like one little scene.
Very
so you do have some of those guys, and I love Jim Trufrost
As Buzz the elevator operator. Yeah.
He's pretty funny in his little part that I don't know. It just that fits for me in the vibe of the film. I kind of like him in this.
Oh yeah, in terms of pulling off the stereotype that sort of real stereotype 1930s kind of vibe.
Yeah,
he nails it. Like he's a caricature, a perfect caricature of the elevator boy. His voice, the sort of pinchy whine of his voice, the accent, everything just comes together for him.
Like that little hat snap that he does, and, all that stuff. Just like it fits perfectly.
It really does, and that's where you see, I think, other issues start to fall. Other performances start to kind of break a little bit. I don't get the feeling that Tim Robbins really keeps it, plays it quite that tight. Throughout the course of the film, it feels like it comes off the rails, and in contrast, I think Jennifer Jason Leigh goes a little bit overplayed. I find her a little bit tough to watch.
She hits me a few times where I feel like sometimes she feels like she's nailing kind of that 30s screwball vibe, and sometimes she feels like she's an actress having a lot of fun playing somebody.
Look at me, I'm 1930s screwball.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't quite come across as much as I'd like it to. So,
now that said, right, if you look at the individual performances overall, you mentioned how you sort of connect with the other Coen brother comedy, and I do too, but I think this movie sort of presents kind of a binary approach to their tentpole comedies, right? When you look at this compared to, what's that other thing that I don't like?
Big Lebowski?
Yeah. Man, I don't connect with that at all.
And see, that's the one I connect with more, so.
I know that.
There's a thing about their comedy that, I don't know, I think some of it works for some people sometimes, and some of it just doesn't work for people. Like Burn After Reading, I could never connect with that one. I had the hardest time getting into that film. I just didn't like it at all.
I loved it.
And
You're crazy.
There you go. I don't know. This to me, I've read some people comparing this or calling this, putting it in the category of lesser Coen, along with like Intolerable Cruelty and The Lady Killers. And I mean, I didn't mind either of those films, but they weren't their best films.
See, I would categorize those two as lesser Coens, absolutely, but not these. Burn After Reading and Hudsucker Proxy, I find them.
Well, I don't know about Burn After Reading. I would call it lesser only because I didn't like it. I don't know if that's the term you use for a lesser film. I don't know. To me, it just didn't seem. Maybe I wouldn't call Burn After Reading lesser because I think lesser is just like, they're not trying to do some big extravagant thing or say some big message or something. I don't know. What would you call a lesser film?
Yeah, I don't know. See, now that you ask me like that.
Like, is it lesser only because you don't like it, or is it lesser because it's not one of the things that they're trying to do something with? It's just kind of it's a whim.
And you feel like Hudsucker Proxy is a whim?
Yeah, I totally do. Like, I don't feel like there's anything big that they're trying to get across to me. It feels like, okay, that was a lot of fun to watch. It was really pretty. I mean, it's gorgeously shot. The production design is stunning, even though I never quite got, it takes place in the 50s, but it looks like the 30s. There's a weird disconnect for me there. I don't know if I care, but it definitely feels that way. I don't know. I guess I get what you're saying about kind of the corporate control and all that, but I don't know. I didn't get any of that out of the film. I can see, maybe it's something they were putting there, but to me it just seems like it's just like something to just kind of do. That's how I felt about it.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It just doesn't feel like, something they're trying to do something bigger with it.
I don't. This gets to the question of lesser. I don't necessarily think that the film has to have larger aspirations than what it is to not be a lesser film. Here we have what is a simple story, again, about a complex issue. But I also think that they present this issue in a way that deals with capitalism, the economic weights on giant complex systems, and puts a face on it that many people can understand. And that's a hard thing to do. And is that not worthy of more appreciation than it's given, perhaps? Like they are doing an audacious thing. They're making what amounts to they're trying to, with this film, sort of culturally to educate around an issue that is I think an important one. Particularly as you look at the case of the film, as it ages, and we see more and more of the Hudsucker proxy happening right now through complex patent litigation and the corporate culture of greed that we have set up right now. Haven't we seen then the Coens try to sort of sound a bit of a cultural warning call, not to put too fine a point on it. I mean, isn't that, worth a few laughs?
Well, sure. But at the same time, I would argue, was that really their intention? I mean, it's great that you can read all of that in this film. I didn't read any of that in this film. To me, it just seemed like, yay, it's fun. Mean old boss is trying to, put a puppet in control. I didn't get any of that additional stuff out of it. I think it's great that you can. I think it's great that anyone can, and college kids can write term papers on that and describe all of that. I didn't see that in the film. I don't think that's a problem with the film. I don't think it's. I think it's great that somebody could get all that out. I just didn't find that in it, and so I don't think I personally would give the Coens any credit for that.
You don't think Joel and Ethan thought of that?
I don't think so.
Totally calling them after the show.
Yeah, you call them right now. Get them on the line.
All right, hold on. I don't know. I don't want to. It's not like I want to hammer this home because I think you're right. At the same time, this is pretty much what we do every week.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's the nature of it. Yeah. I think it's great. I think it's important to be able to find things in the story, and I think two people could go at a film in two completely different ways. One can find a whole different message in it, and the other person can find just a laugh and a good time in it.
What does it tell you that the script was filmed right after Blood Simple, but it couldn't get made?
You mean the script was written right after Blood Simple?
Right. Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, you said filmed.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that at all.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, they themselves say we were nobodies at that point. Nobody was going to give us the money it was going to take to make that movie. Because, I mean, this was, and I think might still be, I haven't looked into it, but it's if not still, it's certainly one of the most expensive films that they've made. Coming in at, I believe, $40 million was the production budget on this film. So definitely it was a pretty high budget for these guys coming not right away in their careers, but certainly earlier in their careers. And I think that the reason that they waited so long was because they wanted it to be a film that had the right budget for it. This was their fifth film. They needed a little more clout. And with the style of it, with everything they had going, I mean, you can see the amazing production design, everything in it, the period costumes, all of that stuff builds to a film that looks the way that it was meant to look. If they tried making this right after Blood Simple, I can't imagine what that would end up looking like. It would look like, high school kids putting on a show. Nothing would look right. They wouldn't have had the budget for it. So I don't know. I guess that's what I see when I look at that and why they waited so long. And they said as much.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think we're college kids writing term papers about that part?
I don't. Although maybe they did write a story in college or write a paper in college about, the corporate takeover and corporate greed and puppets and corporations. And then they go, hey, what about
Professor Nelson, the connection between Dennis Gassner's production design and the story? Because this is one of the things I think that works so well. When you look at so many of the large scapes and so much of the, I mentioned Brazil as a obvious to me sort of visual influence, but very much that sort of Art Deco kind of exuberant architecture, and the words sort of fascist architecture has sort of been tossed around when you think of this era. Across the red block, there is I think there is a really sort of beautiful connection between this simple comedic story of corporate greed and capitalism and the sort of nuance or the insinuation of the production design toward the more sort of fascist approach to commerce.
Yeah, and just the frenetic pace of it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the labor issues that I think in particular you look at the blue letter, right, and the nature of the blue letter.
Mm-hmm.
The blue letter is a executive to executive missive, right? It's a piece of paper that needs to be read only by the other executive to which it is written. So in this case, the CEO, wearing Hudsucker, had written a blue letter to be delivered only to Sidney Musburger. Now, Sidney Musburger and wearing Hudsucker are often in meetings together, and their offices are right next door to each other.
Yeah, right across from the back of the clock.
Right. And yet, again, bringing in this sort of labor, the whole sort of concept of labor, what we see here is the number of hands that need to be involved indirectly or directly in delivery of this letter. The letter goes down from the senior executive's office all the way down to the very basement to the mailroom, where the letter is brought through the room with some great ceremony as all other business shuts down, right? Everybody else stops work. And this is, hundreds of bodies stop work in order for the letter to be handed to the one person who can actually then take the letter back up to the other executive's office, highlighting this sort of sense of inefficiency that comes with complex organizations.
Yeah, it is quite a process.
I love that sequence. To me, that is a perfect sequence. It's funny. It illustrates a key point in a way with a nice smile on its face, and the absurdity of it sort of lends to the overall aesthetic of the film.
Yeah,
I love how they put that together.
Well, that I think paired with the moment shortly before that, where his new boss in the mailroom is basically giving him his orientation in the form of a rat-a-tat dialogue moment that gives him, 1,000 rules, all of which he has to remember. Otherwise, he'll be docked, right?
Yes.
His paycheck will be docked, as it's made very clear after every sentence.
Well, and it's great because when he says, your number, which he remembers, your ID number is, some god awful 15-digit number, and he says it will not be repeated, or you will be docked.
Right. It all just that, like all of that corporate machinery at work. I mean, reminds me of all the best moments from everything from Modern Times to Brazil to Joe versus the Volcano. I mean, they all have that great corporate machine at work. And I think that works really well here, even going so far as to like some of the other montages, like the laughing montage once he's hired And it's just this montage of him and all of the members of the board just basically like laughing, and then he's getting his hair done and he's laughing, and it's just like they're all laughing together at the celebration of all of this crazy corporate, the way that the corporate machine brought him to the top and everything. And I don't know, it's just that all of that stuff I think is just really interesting, the way that it was constructed.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up that particular montage. That's the success montage. When the hula hoop is actually approved and manufactured to manufacturing.
No, that's what I wrote down as the approval montage. But before that, there was I called it the laughing montage.
Oh, right, where he's getting his hair cut and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right after he's first hired.
Right.
And he's just laughing with all of them. But yeah, then there's the approval montage, followed by the sales montage of the, extruded plastic dingus.
Exactly, which is great. The way it cuts in and out of marketing, and it cuts in and out of all the different departments that need to approve, and all the stamps, the silhouetted hand stamps of approval for manufacturing, etc. And I love that montage. It may be one of my favorite montages, with the exception of the Team America World Police, we need a montage.
That's hard to top that one.
Which is very hard to top, the self-referential montage. But in this case, the success montage I love so much because it encapsulates, I think, structurally, so much of the film that we don't need to see. This is exactly why montages exist, and a great example of when they work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We get to see him. It is approved. He gets to be okay with moving forward. Sidney Musburger sees this as a great opportunity for him to fail. When he fails, the price of the stock falls, so the board can then buy the stock at bargain basement price. That's the whole point of him being in there as a dupe, of Norval Barnes being in there as a dupe. This montage is going to give us the entire soup to nuts experience of his epic failure driving the stock price down. But that's not what happens. And over the course of about 2.5 minutes, we get to see the stock price, or the extruded plastic dinguses, the hula hoops that were his idea, get dumped into the market. The prices fall. Nobody buys them. And then one magical child sees it and can miraculously gyrate his hips in just the right way to get everyone else in his class excited about them. That, I think, it's a spellbinding bit.
It is. It really is.
You're not excited enough about it.
No, I think it's great. And I think it was a great choice setting it to Khachaturian's music. That frenetic music just goes so well with the frenetic pace the film has set up at this point. And when the kids are watching this one young child, hula hoop around his waist and then around his foot and then around his neck, and he's just awesome, and they all freak out and they all want to go buy him, and you have that frenetic music playing. It works so well. And it's really, it is an absolutely fantastic moment. That's the sort of moment that I think keeps this film really enjoyable and keeps me really excited about watching this film. Like I said, it's a very fun film to watch. And that's a moment, you're right, that is a great moment from this film, and probably one of the moments that I will go on remembering from this film.
It is the moment that I remembered of this film, in going into this review of it. Like, it's the moment I was looking forward to. When you see the store proprietor slapping the prices, the price stickers on the on the hula hoop thing, giving them away free montage with purchase, right? That's a great bit. And then it brings it, the price goes back up and to higher than the original manufactured sale price. I find that really wonderful. Just a wonderful, wonderfully executed sequence in the film.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. I think all the montages are really handled well, but this is kind of the pinnacle moment of the whole film for me. It really stands out as the moment that the film is all about, and it kind of makes me feel like this is the moment that, like, the image that they first had in their heads when they wrote it. This is
why they wrote the movie.
Then they wrote the movie around it. I have no idea if that's true or not, but it feels that way because this moment is such a great moment in the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Who else do we need to talk about with this film that stands out to you? Should we talk? I mean, we talked about the sort of visuals of the film, but I think one of the the camera moves are, there's a lot of wonderful sweeping, wonderful crane work. Is this? Would you call this? A Deacon-esque film?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it Deacon-esque, but it certainly is. It does fit in with what Deacons has done with the Coens. I mean, coming off of Barton Fink, this is their second film together, and in these comedies like Big Lebowski or Brother, Where Art Thou, he is certainly not afraid to have a lot of this craziness going on in his films. It just seems to come from them. And because you look at his other films look great, but I mean, his stuff with Sam Mendes, his stuff with Edward Zwick, all of his other films, I mean, they're gorgeous, but I don't think that they have that same frenetic energy that comes when he's working with the Coens in their comedies.
I agree with that. I wonder, though, how do you see this as an evolution of his work with them after Barton Fink? I mean, is there anything? Can you give me a comparison?
Well, this is definitely. I don't know if I'd say definitely, but this is certainly one of the most showy films he's done with them. After this was Fargo, which I think had a lot more restraint. The Big Lebowski, certainly. I mean, really, it depends on the nature of the film. But even when he goes back to some of the other comedies, I mean, actually, I think Intolerable Cruelty and The Lady Killers in like 10 years ago now were his last two comedies with them. They had some of that frenetic feel to them, but nowhere near the levels that he exhibits here. And even in Barton Fink to a certain extent, although I don't think Barton Fink was quite as frenetic. This and The Big Lebowski seem to be a little more big. I don't know. I feel like he's evolved as a DP with them just by learning to fine tune some of that craziness and being okay with some stuff that's a little more refined and a little less over the top, maybe less obvious.
It's an interesting kind of comparison. It's a very similar kind of architectural style, a production design between Barton Fink and this.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because, Barton Fink was set in 1941, but we're inside the hotel almost the entire time.
Right.
This film was set in, it was over the course of 1959?
1958.
1958 and 59.
And it ends at the beginning of 59.
That's right, New Year's 1959. But it was very much sort of inspired by the 1930s, as we've already talked about.
Right.
I think it can, it makes a kind of logical progression for these guys, and they spend so much time in this era, kind of calling on this period. It's funny to see, as we do more of their films, just how many of their films are sort of historical film wannabes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have that. I mean, he does that really well with them. Barton Fink, Hudsucker Proxy. I mean, Fargo.
Sort of interesting though. They're like historical fantasies. Like, I'm struggling with how to characterize them because they're not rooted, firmly in reality. These films.
No. But they have, but I think a lot of that's the Coens, don't you? I mean, I certainly think that Roger Deakins and his cinematography, paired with the production design and the costume design and everyone else working on the teams, all bring to the film that kind of fantastical period feel that's going on.
Totally agree.
Barton Fink, Hudsucker Proxy, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou certainly has that. The Lady Killers certainly has that. I mean, they delve into a little more realism, I guess, with Serious Man and True Grit as a couple more
Still
regular
period-ish films, though.
Well, they're period, but they're not. They don't have those fantastical elements in them.
Right. Exactly.
Even Inside Llewyn Davis is very much a period film, but not one that's fantastical in any way. It's much more realist period film.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it's just the Coens. They like to dabble in that fantasy, and it does seem to be more period when they kind of go there, except for The Big Lebowski, which has some of that going on in it, but it's mostly, I think, feels pretty modern. Not quite as fantastical, just
the word you're looking
wild.
For is absurd.
Wild and crazy.
Okay. Is there anything else important to you in this film? You say you don't want to watch it again.
No, I say I'll watch it again. I'd say it's the one. It's not one that I would run out and put on that often, but it is a fun film. There's nothing about it that keeps me from watching. Like if it was on, I'd watch it. It's not one that I would turn away from. It's easy to watch. It's easy to enjoy. But it's not one that sticks with me that much.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm just not going to fight you on it. I do think that this is one of those movies that it's sort of sanitized enough as a Coen film that I think it works for more audiences than many of their other films. It's a fun film that I enjoyed watching with my daughter, who also enjoyed it. I think because of the simplicity of the message and because of the sort of the hula hoop was something that she could relate to, and watching that process that montage was something really fascinating to her. I think it was easy to embrace by a broad audience. So I think it's a fun film to watch. It's a great sort of other holiday film for us to talk about. What
do you think? I'm curious because it never quite fits with me very well. But what do you think of the additional story going on between Moses the Clockman, played by Bill Cobbs, and Aloysius the Janitor, played by Harry Buchan?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'd already forgotten it. That is the piece that I find ultimately forgettable. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me why it's in there. That the janitor and the Clockman, I mean, we have this sort of
it's like an
good
angel
and evil.
It's
an angel and it's the devil in heaven, and it's sort of it's a funny thing. It gets back to the fairy tale that we started off with, right? That we have this experience of the universe that we're in. We have the omniscient voice of the Clockman. We have the clock. We know that the clock is important in the story, but it's like out of nowhere that the clock becomes all powerful in the story, that the clock becomes the allegory for the passage of time.
Right.
The statement on the clock, the future is now. You write that off as the tale of the company trying to be forward looking, but really that you end up walking away with that being, after the end of the film, more of a encouragement to live your life for the now kind of a thing. And so at the Great Fall, we've already seen Charles Durning throw himself out the window to his death.
Right.
And then we see Tim Robbins do the same thing. At the Great Fall, then we have the Clockman jam the broom into the clock. And that's the rather jarring admission of the film, that there are greater powers at work that we haven't seen.
Right.
And I have a problem with that because there's no hint of it anywhere else in the film.
Not at all. And that's probably, I think you're hitting it right on the head as to why it feels so out of place. Because initially you have this voice and it feels like it is kind of that fairy tale. Somebody's telling you the story. Then later you meet that voice and it is Moses the clock repairman, or the clock guy. And it's like, oh, okay, so he's not just a voice telling us the story. He's kind of that character who's in the story who happens to be omniscient because he's kind of eavesdropping on everybody. Okay, I can go along with that. And then all of a sudden he's like, he and this clock are all powerful and controlling how time flows. It comes across really kind of out of place.
Yeah, it's a bridge too far, I think, for the film for me. I don't I say I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I get my read of it, and but I think part of the problem there's sort of the primary problem to me where it's the sort of jarring introduction of Moses as God, right, or as the Clockman as God.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the even more jarring admission that the janitor, who all we have seen through the course of the film, all we've seen him do is paint names on doors.
Right, paint them on and scratch them off.
That he actually has this role of being the great witness of the dark.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere, and I think you're right on. And for me, that is a major weakness, as evidenced by the fact that I'd already forgotten that was in there. There's so much more of the film that works for me than the great climax that does not. Although we didn't talk necessarily about Charles Durning reappearing as the angel of wearing Hudsucker with a ukulele and giving this final speech to Tim Robbins where he is frozen in time. Now, this is one of those things that it feels sort of shoehorned into the film to me, yet I like the moment a lot. I like the result. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
I don't like how they got to the point where the clock has this power to put the broom in it and it is all time. But I do like the moment that they have in the air.
Especially because if it freezes time and starts up again, his fall should theoretically be starting up as it had been continuing already. But what happens is every time the time starts up again, he starts falling as if he's just started falling. So by the time he has his last fall, he's, I don't know, like 5 feet from the ground. And so it's only like he does a 5-foot fall. It's not
not even that. It's like inches.
Yeah, it's not like he fell, 144 floors or however many it was.
Right.
So it's a technique that they use that I think is pretty ridiculous, and I have a hard time buying into that whole element of the story.
Okay, I'm going to give you that. Even though I think that for me the fall bit never really affected me, and I think it's because of the otherwise kind of fantastical environment that they've set up. But that I see your point.
You see where I'm going with.
How did it do in the box office?
This, like I said, I mean, they had about $40 million for this. It looks like about $25 million to make the movie, and then $15 million for prints and advertising. So $40 million adjusted to today's dollars, that's $62 million. This film made at the box office $2.8 million. This is, of all the films that we have talked about, that we have found information for, this is the worst performing film that we have discussed. Adjusted, it lost $519,000 per finished minute. So that's a lot of money to go out the door. This was Joel Silver. He latched on to these guys after their other films and their big win at the Cannes Film Festival with Barton Fink and everything. He was a big Hollywood player, and he latched onto them, I think, thinking that they were going to do great stuff with it. And I don't think he ever worked with them again, did he?
I don't think so.
I think this is one film with them, and then he realized that he needed to go work with some other people.
So I'm going to say this. I think there are a lot of people who don't agree with me. But of those of us who contributed to that $2.8 million, we stand united.
I know a lot of people who really, there's that contingency of people who do really like this film. I enjoy it. It's not anything that sticks with me, though.
All right.
So
let's rank it.
All right, let's do it.
I worry about this. Because even though I do like this film a lot, I really do. I love it. I like a lot of movies more.
Yep. All right.
So if you head to, that's my part. You can find us, you head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel, and you can find our big list of all the films that we have reviewed and rated and ranked over the many years that we've been doing this. Are we
That's
ready?
right. We're ready. Hudsucker Proxy or Thank You for Smoking.
Thank you for smoking.
Absolutely. Thank you for smoking. The Hudsucker Proxy or Big Fish.
Big Fish.
I would go Big Fish too. So there. The Hudsucker Proxy or You're Next.
All right, this sucks.
I know what you're going to go with.
Hudsucker. You cannot tell me. This is...
I would probably go with Hudsucker over You're Next. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed You're Next. It's a fun horror movie, but it's not one that I would put on that often. Hudsucker Proxy or Dawn of the Dead, 2004.
Dawn of the Dead.
That's right.
Hello, we're dead.
Now, if Charles Durning came back as a zombie instead of an angel,
maybe Hudsucker.
The Hudsucker Proxy or Christmas in Connecticut. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Christmas in Connecticut.
I
no. I
lied.
That's I don't know what I was talking about. I'm gonna say Hudsucker.
Oh man, see, I was gonna go with Christmas in Connecticut. I don't know. Okay, I'll go with Hudsucker only because it's a film that I feel if it's on, I'll watch either of the films. But Hudsucker is easier to watch if it's on year round. Christmas in Connecticut feels
That's
just
a
timely.
Fantastic rationalization. You just did there.
I got to come up with something. The Hudsucker Proxy or Thor: The Dark World. It's got to be Thor.
Got to be Thor.
Yeah. The Hudsucker Proxy or Major League.
Major League.
Yeah, I think I'll go Major League too. Well, there you go. Number 108 out of 128. Did not make it into the top 100.
I'm sorry, Hudsucker.
Not quite. But
all right, nice effort.
It is a fun movie. It is. I'll give you that. So.
And it's a New Year's movie. We didn't even talk about that. The ticking clock is when the stock is they're gonna be revert to public stock so that the board can buy it. And so that's the race, is to fail Norval Barnes by the time midnight strikes.
Yeah.
I love that bit.
It is a nice little tie into the season.
There you go.
I'll give you that.
Happy freaking New Year. For the kids.
For the kids, for the kids.
I worked for 2.5 years on this. That's a great bit.
I staked my Pulitzer on it.
We could go on. All right. Hey, good talk. So where do we go from here? That was our New Year film, and that means now we're headed back into our seasons.
We jump into an official series, and we're gonna
first real series of the 2014.
2014. Yeah, we're going to do a series with the wonderful and talented Richard Dysart, actor, supporting actor, TV actor, stage actor. We love Richard Dysart, and we're going to do 3 movies with him in it: Day of the Locust, Being There, and Pale Rider.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've already talked about him in The Thing,
and in The Hospital.
And in The Hospital. That's right. So definitely love Richard Dysart. It should be a fun little series to throw in right at the beginning of the year.
Excellent. So that's it. We're out of here for now. And we will catch you much, much later, into exactly 7 days later in 2014.
Exactly.
Thanks, everybody.
Ciao.
I gotta go to bed. I'm of a mind, makes a moogie.
Makes a moogie?
That's what it sounds like he says. That's what I've always said. I mean, I know it couldn't be that because it's not words. There aren't words in there. But I swear he says, I'm of a mind makes a moogie.
I bet you're right. You know what? I'm sure that's exactly what he said.
Do you know what I'm talking
Let's
about?
pull up the script. Yeah, Batman.
All right.
Nicholson. Lawrence. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Come on. What do you
Then it's Party Man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
Party Man.
I know my Batman.
Man. Do you have the original limited edition Bat Can?
No.
The Bat Can. I have the Bat Can.
I have the Bat Plunger.
No, the Bat Can was the original, the limited edition Prince soundtrack that came in a looks like an 8mm film can that is black and stamped with the Bat logo on it.
Wow. That's awesome. Can that
party like nobody can.
I wish I was recording because that would be my new ringtone for you. Oh, there's Pete again.
Oh, goodness. All right, stop talking.
It is hard to believe that we have been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
So many great conversations over the years about so many great movies.
And some stinkers.
Well, true. But you know, producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
In Season 3, we covered even more great adaptations like The Night of the Hunter and It Happened One Night, both part of our Couples on the Run series.
We talked about No Country for Old Men. The Coen brothers so rarely adapt someone else's work.
We had some fun rom-com adaptations like About a Boy, based on the Nick Hornby novel, and Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, adapted from Rachel Cohn and David Levithan's book.
In our terribly and naively named foreign language series, we discussed The Brilliant City of God and The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which I won't ever be able to watch again, ever.
But could you read the original memoir?
I don't know, maybe?
We had our Richard Dysart series with adaptations like The Day of the Locust and Being There.
Plus, we had that fantastic interview with the man himself.
The one where we had him sit on the floor?
Because this chair was so squeaky. Good times.
We did our first Tom Hanks series with Forrest Gump, adapted from Winston Groom's novel, plus Apollo 13, based on Lost Moon by Jim Lovell.
And we did another year series looking at films from 1981, including Das Boot, Gallipoli, and Thief, all based on books.
Listeners can dive deeper into all of these original stories and more at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play,
movie,
video game. You bet. We have talked about some video game adaptations as well. It doesn't matter the source, just follow the link. Every purchase supports the podcast.
Check out the full list at thenextreel.com/originals and get reading, watching, performing, or playing today.